Hey, welcome to Father in Our Future, the podcast for dads. I'm Anthony Vandegrift, and I'm not the perfect dad, but every day I am trying to be better. Thank you so much for being with me today. We're wrapping up the month of June, where we're putting a focus and emphasis on dads, and I'm super excited about today's episode because I got a good friend of mine across the table here. This is Josh Youngblood. Josh, thanks for being with me, man.
Absolutely.
It's about time.
It's about time. Yeah, absolutely.
Josh was actually the very first person I wanted to interview on the podcast. So
that's worked out well.
It's worked out well. It's 52 weeks of him saying no, and then finally I got him on here. So I'm really excited.
To be fair, I didn't say no 52 times. I said, let's do it. And then we just never circled back.
Right. Okay.
So I'll take at least 80% of the blame, but there's no way I'm taking 100.
But it's like 51 no's. So we're gonna put it at that. But I am looking forward to this. Josh is a really neat guy. We've got a cool friendship. He's actually a pastor, believe it or not, in Little Elm.
Yeah.
And he's doing well there. If you are in the area, I would highly recommend going to his church.
Come see us.
Yeah, just because of Jesus. It's not because of Josh. But
well, it's a good time.
Yeah. Josh is cool. Josh is a cool guy, and you'll enjoy his church very much. But I brought Josh on, and you'll probably tell in how we dialogue that it may come across like we hate each other a little bit. That's totally normal. We have a great friendship. That's just kind of how it works. I remember we served on a committee together, and during these meetings, we would just be completely ruthless to each other and hash out and all the new guys.
Well, it was just fun. It was fun, right, publicly to like absolutely attack each other, and then we're texting back and forth like, the whole time. Hey, I'm fixing to kill you. It's going to be fun. Just play along. And then just to watch the reaction in the room was a real good time. In fact, there are probably some people that still don't know that we were actually friends.
Right, exactly.
So.
There was one time in particular we had a guy, he was brand new to the committee, and he was just like we finally broke it to him, 80% through the meeting. He was like, I was getting really concerned, like that there was going to be a fight.
Yeah.
So it's totally normal. So we love each other, but in opposition to how our relationship typically goes, I'm going to say something so you might get some tissues or something to hold back the tears. But we're talking today about having fun as dads and having fun within fatherhood. It truly is a fun thing, but many people can relate to this. I think back to when I was me and my wife were getting ready to have our first kid, Frankie. And you meet everyone, and everyone's super excited that you're having a kid. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, we're so happy for you. And it's just like all this excitement. And then it's always like tagged at the end with your life's about to suck. Like everything's it's going to be dreadful. If you want to do anything now, do it, because as soon as you have kids, everything that you enjoy about marriage is going to just disintegrate. Yeah. It's just going to go away. Except for Josh. Josh told me the only thing about being a dad that I actually remember. You probably and more than likely dropped some of the, sarcastic dread. And you were actually sarcastic about it. There were some people who shared some stuff, and I was like, I know your kids. Like, you regret them? It was pretty bad.
Right.
But Josh told me, he said, being a dad, it's going to be the most fun you've ever had, and you're going to love it.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that I remember.
That's so cool.
It really is, and it stuck with me. And I would consider myself on the humorous side. I'm lighthearted about everything. I like to lace everything with humor. Yeah. And my wife hates that about me because she's having a serious conversation and I'm cracking a joke. She was like, why don't you ever listen? Locks herself in the bathroom thinking, our marriage is strong.
Yeah. So we're doing it. This is right.
We're doing good.
It's awesome.
Right. But that's kind of how I am. But that piece of advice is the only thing that has stuck with me from the time that the whole journey began of fatherhood for me. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
I never thought, even as a pastor, that you would have a positive influence on my life, but here we are.
Here we are. Absolutely.
So, but this is what I want Josh to talk about and to elaborate on today, because I think there are a lot of dads who kind of dread being a dad. They have a bad perspective.
Sure.
And honestly, if you are a dad and you're not having fun and you're not having the most fun in your entire life, you're doing it wrong.
I agree with that.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. So, and I'm looking at you and the camera, and I'm trying to look it back and forth. So here we go.
If you want to talk to them, you talk to them. If you don't want to talk to them, you just talk to me.
Okay, well, I got it. So I think when you think about being a dad and the fun in being a dad, I think one of the things you have to remember is you have to be able to learn and appreciate each stage, right?
Yeah.
So right now, to perspective, my boys, one just turned 9, one's 10, he's turning 11 in August. So I do have a first and a last, just so that's very clear. I love being a dad. Thankful for both of my boys, but we just have the 2, and that's God's will for our life. I think that people that have more than 2 kids, you really have to, it's math that I don't want to have to work out, right?
I got you.
You're responsible for 1.5 kids and or even different fractions than that. So we can divide and conquer at our house. There's 1 of 1. We get it worked out. But no, being a dad is the most fun I've ever had. And And I think it's important to recognize like each stage of development, you got to look for the fun in each one, right? Because if you spend, I remember Mason was born, he was legitimately not even in one of those little chairs that you sit him up in, like he was still laying down on something. And I'm like, we should probably play catch, And so like I had a little football. And I just kind of pitched it over to where he was. I don't know what I was thinking, and it bounced off his head. And Shell was she was very unhappy with that. It was a bad decision. And I think maybe in that moment, it's like, okay, I got boys. And the moment you have boys, you're like, okay, we're gonna play catch. We're gonna play all the sports. We're gonna do all the things. And I'm like, okay, well maybe at 3 months we should. Rugby. Not yet. It's not time. It's not time. He's, it was a good pass. It was a good throw. But could he have caught it? Sure. But it bounced off his head. And I kind of thought in the moment, maybe we're rushing that. But just understanding that there's something special about having a baby. There's something special about bonding with a 3-month-old, a 6-month-old, as they start figuring out how to walk and you're celebrating these massive milestones. It seems like at that stage, every day is a major milestone. And then, as time goes on, the milestones are a little fewer and far between, but it's having the ability to recognize, man, we're going to live in the moment. Right now we're at the stage where I come home from work hey, I need to show you something on Minecraft. Yeah. I got to go upstairs and we got to check out the new Minecraft. Or we're at the stage where, hey, can we buy some Jordans? We've reached that stage. Both of my boys seem to be budding sneakerheads. And so we actually have some on the way right now as I speak. So just understanding, again, if you have multiple kids too, it's understanding that fun's going to look different, right? That your kids are going to be different. Again, I have 2 boys. My youngest, Landry, his idea of fun, let's go outside. Let's play basketball. Let's play catch. Let's throw the football. Mason, my oldest, is not, it's the same thing. It's not necessarily let's play sports. It's like, hey, can we use your computer? Can we work on, that was the chair. I didn't sound like a fart, but it was for sure the chair. Dear God. And so our conversation more is about, we play Xbox together, and it's about finding how do I connect with each kid? How do I have fun with each one? And so we play Xbox. We use my computer. We've worked on some coding stuff. We were on vacation about a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And, we ended up going on a family hike. And it was like, you're so aware of the differences and stuff like that, right? Because Landry was living his best life way down the trail, just like I'm yelling at Landry, we can't see you. Like if you can't, he's like, I'm watching for snakes. I'm like, that's the wrong thing to say to him. I can't see you. There's armadillos. And he's off the trail chasing armadillos through the woods. Like we're on the side of a mountain. And so I'm like, hey, I would like for you just to kind of say where I can see you. And then the flip side is that Mason is like, we're going to die. I'm going to die. This is where I die. It's a good Mason, balance. There's a whole pathway here, like with signs. And like, I know it feels like we're in the middle of the wilderness, but we are in fact half a mile off one of the main highways in Branson. Like we're going to be okay. Yeah. Like it's going to be fine. We're going to make it. What if it gets dark and there's wolves and bears? I'm like, well, there could be, but I think regardless, we're half a mile from the car. I think we're going to be all right. Yeah. So just understanding, it's going to be different. And if you're not able to adapt, right, you can't, I think it's against the rules to have a favorite. If you got more than one kid. Yeah. And so there may be that you have one that you got to work a little harder at connecting. Sure. Maybe your interests don't quite align as much as another child. And so it's understanding that balance and how do I make sure that both are loved and valued and appreciated and both are seen and heard, and how do I make sure that I'm spending time either all together or also finding the ways to have one-on-one time and still have a good time and do what I need to do as a father. So how did it start with you? Because obviously you had your kids before I had my first. And so when you gave me the advice, it's the most fun you're going to have, period. Yeah. When you, at what point did you come to terms with this? Was it something that somebody told you before you had boys? Or was it like, I don't know. You had your oldest and you're like, I'm going to make this fun. I'm going to do this. I think partly, because it's very much your personality too. Yeah. I think part of it's just kind of an outgrowth on my outlook of life. Mm-hmm. Like to me, I have fun. I have a good time. Yeah. And regardless of setting or circumstance, to me, it's like, life is what you make it. We can't always control what happens to us. We can control our response to it. Absolutely. And so I try to live by that and try to make, try to find the good, try to find the joy. And that sounds cliche, but legitimately, I think we have a choice. And so I've always kind of lived that way and tried to enjoy every season of life. And so when it came time to being a dad, was thrilled to find out the first one was a boy. Yeah. And again, I hit him with the head in football at 3 months old. So I was kind of planning ahead. That's what you were looking for. Yeah. So, but just kind of building that friendship. I remember how much fun it was figuring out Legos with my kids and just watching, as they accomplish something on their own. There's a pride there that you don't have in really doing anything else. And so just, in fact, we had a conversation. They were talking last week. I don't know that they actually remember this happening, or they remember seeing the video of it later. But they had one of those tunnels that you put on the floor and you crawl through.
Yeah.
Now I'm very claustrophobic, like frighteningly small spaces, like the thought of it, and I'm sweating. But I was determined I'm going to crawl through this dumb tunnel with my kid. I'm going to chase my
pretty large tunnel, though, right?
Yeah, no, it was very small, and so that was a fat joke, and I don't appreciate it, but I did catch it. And so Landry was he was less than a year, so Mason could not have been 3, and it was just it was one of those deals. So I come home and there's a video, and I'm still in slacks from being at work in the office, but I took off through this tunnel, and like halfway in, legitimately I got stuck. Like it's only like a 6-8 foot tunnel, but like I'm trapped. Like I can't go forward or backward. And like Shelly was wheezing, like she got her phone out because she was videoing the struggle of me being stuck. And like my boys thought, even at less than a year old, Landry could tell this was different. And Landry like was giggling. It was that little baby kid laugh that like it's funny for everyone except the person being stuck in the tunnel.
Gotcha. Yep.
And so it's one of those things, like they talked about it even last week. Hey, Dad, you remember that one time it was the funniest thing where you got stuck? And so we just kind of we've always looked for, the reality is life is not always fun.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that life can be hard. It can be challenging. In our context, we started a church 4 years ago. Everything about that has not been, there's challenges. There's things that are hard. Before that, we were on staff at a great church, student pastoring and assistant pastor. And so we've always kind of had ministry and camps and serving kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And our boys, by and large, have just become part of that, and so we've tried, I've tried to even make that fun. And so one of the things I did intentionally, I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but one of the things I did, I was preaching a youth rally somewhere, and like the boys knew they had to get dressed up on a random night, which is not anyone's favorite. And then they had to ride in the car. It was a little bit of complaining on the way, and we were not staying in the night. It was like we were just driving home. Well, Mason, he's always been very sharp and observant. And like if he at 2 years old, he saw you put your passcode in your phone, he memorized it, and he could unlock your phone.
Well
can't
done.
Speak yet, but he can for sure. He can have Siri call Sonic. That happened. He can have Siri call Toys R Us. Also, that happened. So
that's awesome.
Those are great stories. And so after church, the guy that asked me to come preach handed me a check, and so Mason knew what that was, and so he was 4 or 5 maybe, and we get in the car and he said, "Hey, Josh." And Mason did call me Josh for the longest time. Mason was on he's on the autism spectrum. Yeah. And so he was very literal when it came to learning roles. And so at 2.5, he was nonverbal. He was in speech therapy and all kind of stuff. And so we just were thrilled that he started talking and learning. Yeah. And so based on how roles worked for him, he would call, everyone called me Josh. And so that's my name. Yeah. And so now occasionally I'll get a Josh, and it's still fun, but it's mostly Dad or Daddy now. But he called me, he said, Josh. He was, again, probably 4 or 5. He's like, that man handed you that check. Was that, you got some preacher money? I said, I did. I got some preacher money for tonight. He said, I was thinking was with an F. I was thinking that since me and my brother were so good during that service, that maybe we could get some of that preacher money. Now, in that moment, I recognized, okay, this is a cool moment. Like, sure, so this is where we are. And so I agreed. I mean, I said, absolutely. I think you and your brother should both get some of that preaching money. And then Shelly looks at me like, well, I was good too, right? So, but but in that moment, that's what I did. And so I think it might have been $20. I got paid more than that. Yeah, but what I did was,
good Lord.
So no, we're in this for the money. Right. But I gave both of my boys $20. Yeah. I said, hey, this is some preaching money. Thanks for coming with Dad when I preached out, and thanks for being there, and thanks for being good for Mom. And so both boys got $20. Nice. Well, then what I did not realize, there will be other chances to preach out. And so now it's kind of like, now they're 9 to 10 and they're still like, hey, so what about that preaching money? Yeah. Yeah. And so but again, the point was, I want that to be fun too. Yeah. Like the thought is, man, you can dread getting dressed up. You can dread going to church on an off night, sitting through another oh my God, my dad's preaching again. I got to sit here and listen to it. Or, we can make this, okay, when we get done with this, here's $20. And I don't care if you spend the whole $20 at the gas station. I don't care if you spend whatever you want. It's your $20. Do whatever you want to do. Have fun. Yeah. And I'm trying to like tag in with this idea. Hey, we're making this fun. Like we're and sure. So now they get to travel with me some, and they've gone with me to some camps, and they've gone with me to some conventions. In fact, this year Landry flew with me to Pennsylvania.
Cool.
And just Landry went with me for one weekend, and we were preaching at youth convention. He had a great time, and they know, they're gonna get a little extra love when they get there, and people want to meet them, and so it's just a really fun thing, and we try to make the most fun of it,
Cool.
and look for ways to include them in ministry, and for that to be fun as well. And then Mason had a trip. He and I went to Atlanta a couple weeks later. So just kind of rotating that and making sure they understand, nothing I do, I don't ever want to do something that I can't include my kids with. They've been in my office. They've, I've been involved in career day at their school, but they've been in my office. They've gone with me to preach out or do different things. And so we tried it. Now, it doesn't mean that every day is fun. It doesn't mean that we never have frustrating moments. My gosh. But at the end of the day, I think my kids would say my dad's fun. Yeah. And I think my kids would say it's fun being with my dad.
Yeah. Well, we're going to bring them on right now.
It's very good. No. Come on, boys.
Yeah. No, but okay. So it sounds like to me that the secret here is you have to look for the opportunities.
Yeah. No, and that's,
even on the tough days.
I mean, and there's no secret sauce here. It's legitimately, you're putting the work in. And are there days where it's easier just to be like, man, go to bed. I'm exhausted. And no doubt. And there are days that I've done that. There are days that I've had to apologize to my kids. There are days where there's stress and pressures, and you snap at somebody, you got to go make it right. And I'll tell you that you're modeling even how to ask for forgiveness as a dad. But at the end of the day, yes, it's choosing to find, okay, this might be a terrible thing, but we're going to make light of it. We're going to find a way to enjoy it. We're going to make the best of this, and so even if it's a miserable hike off the side of the road in Branson where you think you're going to die, we make fun of it. We joke about it. My kids, we try to be lighthearted and fun. Like if somebody says the wrong thing they use the wrong word. That is something we will get a lot of mileage out of at our house. I'll tell you, Landry at Christmas, we were driving down the road and he sees the nativity scene. Yep. And now, full disclosure, I'm a pastor. Like, I think probably my kids are aware of who the leading characters are in that story. Sure. But Landry points, look, there's Mary and Jerry. And it's for sure Jesus, right? It's for sure, it's Joseph, Mary, and Jesus. There's no Jerry in that nativity scene story unless that was the name of the sheep, right? Yeah. And so now the number of times that we have talked about Mary and Jerry since Christmas, and so again, it's not that we're making fun of our kids. We're teaching our kids, like, you have to be able to laugh at yourself. You have to be able to enjoy, we're not going to be, you can't live so sensitive that one little thing, now they may talk to their therapist about it when they get older, but we do try to, but for now, we're trying to build this principle. Hey, listen, life is hard. Enjoy it. Learn to laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously. Mason, we were playing I Spy at a hotel continental breakfast one time. And Mason was trying to say, I spy something plaid. He said, I spy something plain. And so we will bring up the I Spy game just to say, I spy something plain, just to tease Mason. And it's one of those deals, like, we're just trying to, the principle here is, listen, we're going to be, if I say the wrong word, for sure they're going to catch it, and for sure it's fun for everybody. And so just building that intentional, we may not have a lot of money today. We may not have a whole lot of stuff we're doing. It may be a regular day, but if we can find a way to laugh together, we can find a way to enjoy life. Exactly. And that's what we're trying to do.
Exactly. And you have to mirror that too. It's one thing to teach your kids, but you have to first mirror that as a dad yourself. You make a mistake and your kids get on you, just like let them enjoy the moment. Yes. Mm-hmm. Accept it, own it. It's like what you were sharing about with your boys. I did it this morning with my daughter Reagan. So she's 3 at this point, and she's at this very dramatic, if it doesn't exactly go the way in her head, which no one understands, including her, then she's just going to lose it. She's going to whine, cry. She's going to melt, act like her legs stopped working. And so this morning I had one of these come to God encounters, and the kids were absolutely insane. We were supposed to go get donuts. It was supposed to be a happy morning, right? We're gonna have fun with this. No, it did not go that way. Any opportunity that they could have to just lose it, they were taking advantage of the opportunity. So I'm trying to talk to the kids. I'm talking to Frankie. I'm done with him. He's 5. He gets it. Talking to Reagan. She's doing her little meltdown. So I start talking to her. I said, what if I talk to you the way that you always respond to mommy and daddy? And I do those move my arms in the air, and I'm losing it. And she starts laughing. Yeah. Because she knows that she's a stinker. And, it completely diluted this situation. I had to accept, this is no more about me trying to discipline the kids, because I've ruined that, but I've reconciled the tension between us. And so now we're good. Everything resolved. We laughed. We had a good time. We got in the truck. We got donuts. Everybody was happy. So trying to insert and look for that opportunity to
it's an effort.
make it humorous, make it funny, make everyone laugh and smile. It is it's a golden nugget.
And we do dumb stuff. Like it's, my boys know if we go through a drive-through, like they'll even ask, it's like, hey, do a dumb voice. And so like it's a challenge, right? And so they get mad at Shelly because Shelly can't hang. I will do a ridiculous voice. I'll order food. I'll ask questions, and it's like the boys keep a straight face because they're in on it. And they'll tell Shelly, look away, look outside, do not look at the people, because Shelly she'll start grinning or she'll start chuckling because it's if we're doing it, we're committed. We're going after it. One time we were visiting somebody in the hospital. Actually, Darren and Ginger. Ginger was in the hospital, and it was a kind of a not a great day for them.
Sure.
And so on the way, I stopped at Walmart, and I'm a grown man, right? So 6'3" and 100 pounds at least when I'm, and so
in your head.
Okay, thank you. And so what we did, I stopped at Walmart and I bought one of those onesie zip up. It was a llama suit.
Gotcha.
Onesie zip up, size medium. And so I stuck literally in the parking garage. In the parking garage, I tell the boys, here's what we're going to do. Daddy's going to put this suit on. And I'm like, we're going to make a joke. Now, you know that you've got it. You know that you're good when you can not laugh and you can look at somebody with a straight face and ask for directions and make them look at us, make them see me in this ridiculous suit, but you keep your face straight like this is normal. And so like that's all I said.
That's
like
awesome.
When I tell you, it took us forever to get to the third floor because my boys identified the cafeteria, the waiting rooms, every restroom. And I mean, they continued to ask for directions. But again, it was one of those things where, hey, listen, this was a bad day for somebody else. And so what we're going to do, one of the things Daddy likes to do is have fun and to make a joke and let's try to make somebody feel better. And so you're in on this, let's do this. And so it's one of those things, again, it's just about bringing them along with us. I don't want my kids to think that all of my fun happens when they're not there.
Sure.
That I only have a good time if I can get away from them.
Exactly.
No, they're part of it.
That's awesome.
And that's what we try to do.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, it's nice that you mirror the behavior yourself.
Yeah.
2, you're letting them in on it. So when it comes time for them to grow up, go through life, become dads themselves, grandparents themselves, they've got this to fall back on. Like they've already got this mentality and personality of let's make it fun. Let's do something. Let's break the ice.
To me, that's always in the back of your mind, right? In fact, this week I was teaching in Ephesians. Ephesians 5 talks about that as children of God, we should imitate God in everything that we do. And that thought hit me. That as a dad, I understand that I am good, bad, ugly. I am modeling, the best version of a father that my kids are going to know is their father. And so that is, if they're going to imitate me, then I need to be worth imitating. If they're going to follow me, I need to be worth following. And so that, not to insert scripture, but that's where I'm at. That's where I'm trying to accomplish with my kids. So
you've already made it known that you preach all the time. So you must be pretty good, Josh. All right, well, let's elaborate on the tough days. So, I know with Mason, you're first, and again, this is years back now, but you had some concern with the nonverbal stuff.
Mason was on the spectrum, and Mason was nonverbal. Mason has overcome a lot, and part of his testimony is amazing. We actually, I'll never forget, he was 3 years old. We were meeting with the top pediatric neurologist in the country, and we flew to Philadelphia to meet with this doctor. And at the time, she suggested that Mason was going to be intellectually disabled, that we should potentially look at group homes. It was just could not. I can't even put into words how awful that trip was, especially the trip home. And just trying to process what this doctor said. We prayed and believed God, and we got all kind of therapy, and Shelly championed that by and large. But really just got after it, and he was in occupational therapy, speech therapy, behavioral, all kind of stuff. And it was a process, no doubt. But now I would tell you that, Mason's all A's and B's. He's making the honor roll. He's top reader in his class. He's reading 2 levels above grade level. It's just been remarkable to see what God has done in his life. But there were certainly challenges. And I remember with Mason, he was colicky, right? So Mason, the first 6 months of his life, it was impossible getting to go to sleep. I remember just, in the middle of the night, we have him in his car seat. We were driving all over town. We were in Mississippi at the time, so we'd drive over these suspension bridges. Something about the motion would finally get him to sleep. And then we lived in an apartment. So you're like, I quit trying to put the code in for the apartment. I just waited like the creepy guy for someone else to open the code. I'm not rolling my window down. Because if he hears the beep, he wakes up and here we go again. So it was very, very frustrating. And so understanding that, okay, he's trying. He can't communicate, so I
Right.
can't imagine how frustrating that would be. And so you kind of recognize where he's at, and then things get better, things get easier. You get to know your kids, and you get to know kind of what's up. And it took some time. Things would trigger Mason. Again, that was part of what his challenges were.
Yeah.
And so to see him kind of outgrow some things was incredibly rewarding. But we had good times. I mean, we would sit and watch Backyardigans. It was a show. We'd watch Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
Mason, the theme song would get him up and dancing. So I would dance with him. We're just dancing. We're
Yeah.
making up dances to theme songs for little dumb kid shows. And then, to connect with, I would sit and watch it with him, and we're watching. And then I found out that actually Paw Patrol's got some legit storylines. And so if my man fell asleep, I got to finish this
Now
episode.
you're invested.
You know what I'm saying? We're
I
20
got
minutes
you.
in. There's no way I'm going to bed
Right.
without finding out what Chase does. Is Marshall going to be okay? Right? And so he is. In the story, Marshall's fine.
Good.
And so just looking for, that relationship has evolved, right?
Yeah.
There were some challenges, but then Mason started talking. And because Mason was nonverbal, the first time Mason said, "I love you," and understood what it meant was shattering,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And the first time he was beginning to express emotions because he didn't do that. So when you started seeing these massive milestones, even though they were delayed, it was such a celebration and
Sure.
just such a amazing journey that we were on. And even from the beginning, Mason, when he was born, he spent 3 weeks in intensive care. It was just, 10 days. 10 days. I don't want to exaggerate that. It was
Probably
10 days.
felt like that though.
So I'd never been a dad before. Shelly was in one hospital. She's recovering from an emergency surgery.
Right.
Mason's in another one 7 miles away, and I'm going back and forth. It was wild.
Yep.
And then to see Mason come out of that and come through it and fight it off, and it's been a remarkable story.
Yeah.
And then you get the second child comes, right? Then now you have the contrast. It seems like Landry was probably the easiest kid in the world until he turned 3.
Sounds like a Reagan.
Yeah. But those first 3 years, we're comparing it to, he didn't have the same struggles and challenges, right?
Exactly.
And so, man, this seems like it's easy. And then when Mason turned 4, it was like a switch was flipped.
Yeah.
And, Mason is at 10, legitimately, we could leave Mason instructions. And we're not doing this, but we could leave him for the weekend.
Right.
And make sure and say, hey, make sure you eat correctly. Make sure you eat at these 3 times. Mason would look at the clock. He would still have snacks left. He would follow the instructions. I wouldn't even worry about it except for the fact that he's 10. He's got it.
Yeah.
He's a rule follower, and he's very careful. Now, I have 2 kids. And that is not the testimony of my youngest, right? It's not the same. And so just understanding that their difficulties are going to, there's more difficult days with Landry as he got older than there were when he was a baby.
Yeah.
But again, still, we're working on keeping the balance, having a good time, making the best of it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to walk at a speed that they can keep up with.
Sure.
My go-to mode is I'm always in a hurry. I'm always moving to the next thing. I'm busy and I'm balancing and juggling and keeping I'm staying at
You're
it.
preaching out every weekend because you're a really good preacher.
That's not what I said. But finding that the ability, and my wife is the best. She's the best part of us, and my wife is the one that tells me so often, "Hey, we're trying to keep up with you.
Yeah.
Hey, we're trying to follow you, but we don't run as fast." And so constantly kind of bringing me back to that place of don't forget.
Yeah.
That we got to do the things we got to take care of too.
Yeah.
So.
That's really cool. Well, I've talked to a buddy of mine, Derek, before because his son Theo is on the autism scale, and we thought for a while that Frankie might be too because we had the nonverbal communication going on. And he didn't talk until he was almost 3.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we had the same concerns, and he went through some of the speech therapy himself, and it's unsettling as a dad.
Sure.
Because again, I think everyone has the expectation of I'm going to have a kid. They're going to be quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
And we all have
or exceptional. That's what we think.
Exactly. But we all have this idea and this concept of what that looks like, and everyone's definition is probably a little bit different. But when that is your expectation, and then you get something different, it just kind of hits you in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
I remember praying to God, thinking, I really didn't want my first son to be autistic. Because, again, you think autistic and you think the extreme. You think
absolutely.
Like they're never going to be able to do anything. You go all the way to the end of this of the spectrum, and it's horrible. But I came to the resolve, and I shared this when I talked to Derek, that whatever he turns out to be, I'm going to find ways to insert myself and to be a part of that. And so clearly that's what you had to do.
Yeah, and one of the things I tell my boys, I tell them all the time, hey, the coolest thing I'll ever get to do is be your dad.
Yeah.
The greatest thing I'll ever be is Mason Landry's dad. And I try to reinforce that.
Yeah, that's good.
And try to make sure they know, hey, you're it.
You're not an inconvenience. You're not baggage.
This is my life. It's
Yeah.
you guys and mom. And they know they're not as cool as mom. Like Shelly's my favorite. They know that. They'll tell you.
Right.
And I try to model that too. Because I'm
That's
understanding this is, so when I come home from work, typically my boys know like the first 15, 10 minutes I'm home, like it's not about them.
Right.
Ignore them. Like I'm connected with them. I haven't seen my wife all day, so I'm talking to her. And then I'll get to the boys. And so again, we're trying to reiterate, we've tried that from the very beginning, make sure our boys understood they're part of the family, but they're not the center of it.
Sure.
That they're not going to be the ones that dictate schedule and what we do and how we do it.
Yeah.
We're not going to be limited on what we can and can't go because you don't know how to act, those kind of things. And so again, it's just that consistency, and it's about setting the guidelines and building a safe place and understanding this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. You had one more big life move that happened. You addressed it a little bit earlier. So you were assisting at a church in Wichita Falls, and then you made the decision to move to Little Elm to start your church, and that's where you've been pastoring for 4 years now. So when you did this move, you had both your boys, and what were they at that point?
Gosh,
5 and 6?
So, they would have been 5 and 6.
So were they already in school?
Yeah. So in fact, Mason was starting kindergarten.
Okay.
And so for the first 5 days of kindergarten, we got up. Me and Mason, he thinks it's fun. We got up like in the middle of the night, 5 o'clock.
Yep.
But we would drive from Wichita Falls to his elementary school in Aubrey, Texas.
Wow.
Because he was starting. I didn't want him to start the school year. I'd already started working here.
Yeah.
And so we would get up and we'd drive. I'd drive into school, drop him off, go to work, pick him up at 3, and we go home. And so that's a 2-hour drive both ways.
Right.
And we did that for 5 days until we could get moved into our house. So it was fun. But we, my boys were involved with that step too. My boys were so pumped about starting a church. In fact, I'll be honest with you, they were one of the catalysts for it. We were in a thriving church. It's a great church, Wichita Falls, Pastor Gene Holly, and thriving kids ministry. Our kids loved going to Sunday school. They loved kids church. And it was a good sized church. Yeah. And so that was a concern we had. And we preached for a North American missionary in one weekend, and we took care of their service. Their pastor was gone for the weekend, and Shelly was involved. She did the music that weekend, and I preached, and we got in the car to leave. And my boys in the back seat, because they didn't know that at the time we were already well along the way of making this jump, and we had already kind of got some things in motion. And my boys in the back seat was like, "Hey, you know what I think?" I said, "What's that, buddy?" And it was both of them. They said, "We were thinking that maybe we should start one of those new churches." He said, "Because my mama can play and sing, you could preach." And then Mason said, "Me and my brother, we would help." And like they did not know.
Oh, sobbed for
like
a little bit.
We're just crying. Like we're crying in the front seat. The boys don't know what they said, but they were a part of it.
Yeah.
And I remember we had our first preview service. We had 15 people come, and our boys were jacked. They were so pumped. We were starting this brand new church, and they were thrilled about it. And I remember that night we were getting ready to pray before we go to bed, and my oldest Mason was like, "Hey, can we?" We're celebrating the day. 15 people came to the church. And Mason said, "Hey, do you think we could pray that the next time we have church at Grace Church, that some kids would come?" And that was the first time I realized that there were no kids that day other than my two.
Gotcha.
And I wish I could tell you I had the faith to say, "Oh yeah," but I prayed with my kids, and it was a nervous prayer for me.
Sure.
Like oh God. But I'll tell you, that was the only service we've had since we started our church where there were no other kids that were there. It was the very first preview. That was the only one we've had.
Awesome.
Where there weren't other kids. And now, we're fighting through space issues, and we're going from 2 classes to 3 classes and now 4 classes for Sunday school. And just, it's a constant.
That's cool.
We're working through that, but it was because we started praying as a family.
Yeah.
That God was some kids to our church. And so
awesome.
we were excited about what God's doing. And my boys, to them, that's an answered prayer. Every time they walk into Sunday school room where there's other people, that's an answer to their prayer, and they know it.
Yeah.
And so we've reinforced that as well. Hey, you prayed for this, and look what God did.
That's cool. So involving them in every step of the process has seemed to almost mitigate any sort of struggle that you would have had. I mean, again, you get the bomb dropped on you that, hey, there's a good chance that your son's just like, here he is, and like you're not going to get it. It's okay. You still connect with him in the way that he could connect with you.
Yeah.
And you move on past it. Things change. Same thing with, I think our kids, because our kids are about the same age-ish, 5, 3, and 1. So if we just told them that, hey, we're going to up and move a few hours away, away from everyone else that right now, they might be excited about the idea, but there's also some things that they're going to be like, hey, can we go do this? I'm like, no, that's 2 hours away. Like, we can't do that anymore. So like, eventually it would hit them. but it seems like you just completely did away with any of the side effects.
Yeah, no,
and maybe there still were some.
Yeah, we just we've stayed in touch with some of those relationships. We've still tried to see some of their friends and stuff.
Yeah.
We also just look, this is what God asked us to do as a family.
Yeah,
and we've tried to make the call of God bigger than just me as a pastor, me as a dad. But we've made it God's asked our family to do something really cool.
That's cool.
And so to celebrate that and to celebrate the journey, my boys will be praying before we go to sleep, and they'll ask us on Sunday night, "Hey, did we set a high score today?" It's like, no, not today. It wasn't a high score day, but it was a great day. And just again, they pray with us for our church, and we pray together. We pray in the sanctuary together sometimes, and just having them involved in the work of the church. My boys have served as ushers. My boys have they have turned lights on and off for the building. They have helped unlock the building. They've helped paint that church that we built out. I mean, my boys have been involved every step of the way.
That's cool.
And it's their church, and they own it, and they're in it, and they're excited about what God's doing. We've tried to include them. That's been kinda, I guess that's the theme for today in our conversation. Is just how do you got to include them?
Yeah.
Ultimately, if you don't have fun in life, to me, the Bible says that God came to give us joy, right?
Yeah.
That there is, that you got to check that in yourself, right? That joy comes from within. And so it's not about what happens to you. It's not about what life does. It's about finding joy. It's about finding the happiness in life.
Right.
And if you're full of the Spirit of God, you've got a leg up on that.
Yep.
But then it's, so that's really the first piece. If you're not happy, you can't expect your family to be happy. And if you don't have fun, you can't expect a fun environment. And so often you have to kind of help create the environment.
Do you think including your kids, so like to the dads who don't have fun, to the dads who think, man, this is kind of a drag, do you think part of the remedy is start including your kids in the things that you do?
Yeah. So I think you start. Okay. So you ask, what do I enjoy doing? What is fun for me?
Yeah.
And if it's fishing, then take them fishing. Now, that's the caveat there is it will not be any fun for you the first couple of times.
Sure. Yeah. Don't have unrealistic expectations.
No. You're not catching any fish.
Right.
You're baiting the hooks, and but if you get frustrated, then you ruin fishing for them forever.
Yeah.
And so it's finding that, okay, this is something I like to do. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
I like to do whatever it may be, and it's including them in the fun that you have, knowing that you're playing the long game.
Yeah.
Like if you make fishing fun, eventually you'll get to fish too.
Exactly.
And it'll be, you'll have them with you.
Gotcha.
So it's just a matter of finding what it is that you enjoy, and then going at a pace slow enough for those little feet to keep up.
Okay. And what about the flip side of that? Finding time within your own schedule to join in the things that they already enjoy doing.
Yeah. It's being intentional.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be 4 hours a day, but it's about carving out the space. And again, this is something, balance of life. I'm not always great at it.
Yeah.
And there are times where my kids will say, I haven't played with you in several days.
Dude, most people don't have 4 hours a day with their kids.
I haven't seen you in
schedules.
several days. We haven't got to play together. We haven't got to do anything. And I try to listen for that.
Yeah.
And so that might mean that if I'm running errands, that one of them goes with me, or both of them. Landry loves to go with me to run errands, because Landry understands there is a 85% chance that if he can bring it up, that we'll swing by Chick-fil-A and get a shake, or we'll swing by Whataburger and get a shake, and we can get that knocked out before we get home. Mom never has to know.
Yeah.
And that has happened. Sorry, Sean.
Oh, yeah. No, they're boys' trips for us. That's what we call them. He's like, hey, we're going to Costco. Can we go get a sweet tea?
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's just about inclusion and looking for the fun. And then, if you find out what they enjoy, you can't always force them to do what you like, right? It's about, there's a balance here. We force our kids to do stuff because they're not in charge.
Yeah.
But we also, we want to do things they enjoy as well.
That's cool. All right. So for the dads who are kind of on the fence, struggling, or maybe they're running out of ideas of how do I keep making this fun, what are some tips, suggestions that you have? What are some things that you do? I know just, from being your friend and from seeing stuff that you post on social media, which very funny stuff most of the time. You do a lot of pranks with your kids.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, we do pranks. We mess with each other. I mean, it's again, we're going for it.
Yeah,
and we're gonna have a good time. And they probably at this point they may be developing trust issues. I'm not sure. We do have. I mean, the pranks are we do them and we get after it.
Yeah,
and they prank me. And it's I have woken up with whoopee cushions underneath my pillow, and I've woken up with water guns, and you can't get mad because I have started stuff I can't get mad.
Right.
So you look for the fun. And then, okay, to answer your question, what about if if you can't come up with something fun to do, well, Google it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just Google. Google. We do that. Like if we're on vacation, what's a cool place for kids in this town?
Right.
If we go, like last summer, we did we were, you're gonna make fun of this, so I'm gonna talk about preaching out again. But we did a camp in Indiana.
My God, dude. Do you have any openings in 2024 yet?
Listen, I'll fight you. Okay. I'll hit you in the face. And so we found like a children's museum. We found something. We tagged this whatever, you got to go to, it's an extra church and Dad's going to be preaching, but also we're going to have this one day, front end or back end, at some point, we're going to do something fun just for you.
Yeah.
And so Google it. If you don't know what to do that's fun, like that's not an excuse.
Sure.
It's going to hold new water.
Gotcha.
You can look it up. What are the best places to eat for kids? What are the best, something, and you can look up free fun. Like there's some things you can do.
That's the only thing I search for.
That someone else has already, that someone that's more creative or whatever has figured out. We can do this for free.
Non-sketchy, free fun.
Yeah. Even I would include non-sketchy.
Yeah, it's very important. All right, so we can wrap this up because I think you've shared a lot. But let's recap some of the big things here. So clearly, you've got to look for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes to you.
Yeah, but you look for
in the moment. But you've got to look for it, right? You've got to include them. Include them in everything that you're doing, right? And you're not the first person to say this. I've had tons of people come onto the podcast and say, like I did an interview with Jim Littles a few weeks back, and he was like, from the ministry standpoint, he's like, you want your kids to, serve God? He was like, include them in your ministry.
Yeah.
Maybe you're an usher. Ask your pastor if they can be on the usher staff with you. Maybe they help in a small capacity, but they get to help, they get to serve, they get to be next to you. So look for the opportunities, include them. Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. I mean, it's just, and it's consistency, right? You can't be fun for a spurt. You can't be, it's a long game.
Right.
You're not going to get it right every day.
Right.
But it's understanding tomorrow's a new day.
Right.
And, one of the wonderful things about kids when they're little is that their memory and attention span is short, and they forget easily. And you've got a chance to be here tomorrow.
Right.
If you messed up today, if it was not a good day, tomorrow can be different. And so it's being intentional, it's being consistent. It's making sure they know that this is a safe place for them to grow. When you're growing, you're also going to fail at times.
Yeah.
You're going to get things wrong. But you've created a safe place where people can grow.
Yeah.
And you celebrate the good. You walk through the bad together. And at the end of the day, you are creating the picture of what it looks like to be a dad.
Awesome. So let me ask you one more question. You've been doing this for 10, almost 11 years now.
Yeah.
Still the most fun you've ever had?
Such a good time. Yeah, we have a great time. We never know what to expect, and I think that's fun. And we really do. We have more fun than the average bear at our house, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
Awesome.
We've added the dog to the mix, and now it's just next level. We have a lot of fun at our house, and that's not stopping.
You need to get on my level, man. I've got three kids.
Yeah,
you need one more. I've got 2 dogs.
Yeah, we have a first
and
and a
my
last.
wife brought a cat from Ohio, so
just the one dog and a first and a last on the kids, and we're all set.
Yeah. No, that's cool. No, man, thanks for being on the podcast today. Again, you gave me the only piece of advice that actually stuck with me and mattered when I was getting ready to have kids. So that's I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And the whole perspective, having fun with things.
Yeah.
Again, I try to implement it in life wherever I can. But extending that to when you have kids, it really makes fatherhood everything.
Absolutely.
Everything that it is. So
absolutely.
Thanks for being with me, man.
All right, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And shout out to your church in Little Elm, Grace Church.
Absolutely.
You want to give some details on that?
Grace Church, yeah, man. Grace Church.
We
started that church 4 years ago. It was 4 Youngbloods when we started, and God has done great things. And we built out a commercial space. Now we got our own space, and we're trying to build a thriving Spirit-filled church.
Cool.
And God's helping us, and God's doing the work. And we are honestly humbled and just excited to be part of the story that God's writing.
Yep.
And we know He's not finished.
That's awesome. Well, if you're in the Little Elm area, again, check out Josh's church. It's Grace Church. Really cool guy, awesome family, and good church. So thanks again for being with me, and thank you for sticking with us today and checking out this episode. Again, this is Father in Our Future, the podcast for dads. I'm Anthony Vandegrift, and I hope you'll join me next time. Hey, thanks for watching today's episode. I hope it has blessed you and challenged you to strive to be a better dad every day. And if you'd like more great content like this, just subscribe to the channel. Also, if you think dads are valuable and essential to the family, consider supporting this effort. Just go to fatheringourfuture.com and click support. Every contribution helps, and it's greatly appreciated. Thank you for being a part of Fathering Our Future.